Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you're watching. Welcome to another episode of Coaching for Coaches. We are here, we are live. If you're here, if you're watching, give me a hi or a like or a yo Miles, so that I know that you're here and you're watching. Short video from me today. Specifically wanted to do a video. This has kind of been cajoled out of me. I pushed back on doing this video for a while, but I've had certain clients and friends and peers and mentors that have said, when are you going to do a video to talk about the success that you've had over the past few years? Now, many of you will probably know my business career story. You know, if you're with me back in 2012, you'd have found me literally 7 days a week working out in my friend's gym. And without going into the full story, many of you know the story. I was actually living there because I'd had a breakup with my then girlfriend, Helen. We'd not fallen out. It wasn't War of the Roses. We just kind of drifted apart. And fast forward a few years, you know, I'm in a career, I'm in a job that I didn't really enjoy, but it paid the bills. It looked good on paper. It meant I could get a nice car and a nice house. But let me ask you this. Have you ever had that time in your life where on the outside, it seems like you got your shit together, but on the inside, you still feel like something's missing? Well, that's kind of how I felt, because years before, in 2013, I went to a Tony Robbins seminar, and it gave me this, it was like rocket fuel. It made me believe again in myself, in my dreams. But then I parked because I had this aspiration to be like a Tony Robbins. But then there's this little voice inside of me that was like, who the bloody hell do you think you are? You're just a kid that has crooked teeth and grew up on a council estate in Birmingham, right? So to cut a very, very long story short, the last 2 or 3 years in business, if I just speak about that area for a while, has been phenomenal. From, you know, the start of the pandemic, my income went to zero, live events shut down, couldn't present a seminar in a hotel, to literally £250,000 in sales within 18 months. And I tell you that not to brag or show off, but really just to highlight in this video how the frick did that happen. And really for me, there's 3 fundamental things that I did. So if you're at zero, this is perfect because I was at zero. 3 things that saw me not only replace my income, but effectively 5x it from the time before the pandemic. And I'm going to share with you now what those 3 things were. The first thing that I did is really crucial. Most coaches don't do this. For me, I took too long to do this first thing because I think I had this thing of I just want to figure everything out for myself. So the first thing that was significant for me that saw me go from zero to $250,000 in 18 months was I got myself a mentor. You see, most coaches don't have mentors. Because they just try and figure everything out for themselves. I used to be one of those people. It's probably not is not have a mentor. I will still get there. I'm not going to be on this video and pretend like you won't still achieve your goal. But here's the thing, it'll just be slower. See, one of my mentors, a good friend of mine, Jason James, always says, mentors collapse time frames. That's what a mentor does. When I'm traveling from Coventry to London Euston on the train, I always spend double to get the train that gets me there in 55 minutes rather than the clickety-clack that takes me 2.5 hours, right? Through Bletchley, through Milton Keynes and Northampton, all that kind of shit, right? Because I want to get there fast. So if you're anything like me, if you want to get there fast, which means that effectively if you're a coach and you look at that from an income point of view, the faster you get there, the faster you're earning the income that you want to earn. So most coaches don't do that because they just try and figure it out for themselves. And I used to be one of those people. I believe that the number one reason why I was able to go from zero to $250,000 in 18 months was because I got a mentor. And we will do £1 million in sales in the next 12 months. And ultimately that comes down to mentorship, because ultimately I have somebody who's already ahead of me, who's already been through the £1 million barrier, who already can see the blind spots that I can't see. And they can just say, Miles, don't do that. Just do this, this, and this. You will get there because they've already been there. So that's the first thing. Second thing that I believe that you must have. Second thing that has been crucial for me to go from zero to $250,000. Second thing, most coaches don't do this. This is probably the biggest mistake that most coaches make. And the thing that they don't have, which they need, and what you need if you don't have one already, is your own coach. Coaching and mentors, coaches and mentors. Many people say, Miles, what's the difference? Big difference. A mentor shows you the way. A coach helps you kind of see your own blind spots. I would say a coach is like wing mirrors on a car, helps you see the things that you can't see with the naked eye. And for me, one of the fundamental things that helped me go from zero to £250,000 in the last 18 months was having a coach help me fix my own shit. Let me tell you, during the pandemic, my word did some of my old, ugly, limiting beliefs rear their head big time. And maybe you can relate, right? My feelings of unworthiness, can't do it, it will never work, why is this happening to me? All of that came bubbling back up to the surface. And if it wasn't for my coach, who helped me really integrate my head and my heart and make sure that I was fully, my beliefs and my values were completely aligned, and helped me really work on my self-worth, self-belief, self-compassion, I don't know where I would be. And so I believe every coach needs a coach. It should be a given, right? It should be like every, if you're gonna be a personal trainer, you need to be practicing what you preach. If you're gonna be a coach, you've got to have your own coach. Really, really important distinction for me. Last thing, probably is the glue that holds this all together. This third thing is really, really crucial. Without this, I believe that you will achieve a level of success with a mentor and with a coach. But without this, you may have success, but you may not have fulfillment. Tony Robbins says this best. He says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And so the third thing that I believe you must have is an elevated peer group, or what I call a mastermind. You see, most coaches don't have a mastermind. They have an elevated peer group. There's a saying, I think it's Jim Rohn said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. I'm in a mastermind group where there are people making 7 figures, 8 figures, and I'm one of the dumbest people in the room. There's certain conversations that happen around financial literacy, and I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm good at making sales, but the financial literacy bit, I'm still learning, yeah? So it's really important that you're in a mastermind, that you're in a peer group. For me, having that peer group of people who are going through that COVID challenge, the same as me, and that we could link arms and kind of work through that stuff together was really important. Great to have a mentor, but the mentor, obviously, there was only so much that the mentor could do. They could help us, show us the way. The coach could help work on our stuff. But then as an entrepreneur, as a coach, it can be lonely. And having an elevated peer group really helps to resolve that. So I believe that you must, if you want to be successful, be in a peer group or mastermind. The last thing that I want to say on this video, which is really a disclaimer. Here's a common mistake I see a lot of people do. I've seen this type of video before, where somebody says you need a mentor and you need a coach and you need a mastermind group. And here's what I did. I got a mentor by listening to podcasts. I got a coach that was maybe me coaching a friend and them coaching me. I got in a peer group that was free. And I looking back on reflection, I never achieved any success from that. Had a little bit of momentum, but it never got me to the level that being in the communities that I've been in over the past 18 months have. So the key distinction is this. The real secret to success from everything I've just shared is the mentorship, the coaching, and the mastermind I paid for. And here's the thing. If something is free, invariably we don't value it as much as if we pay for it. So my mentoring, my coaching, and my mastermind groups have literally cost me tens and tens of thousands of pounds. In fact, one mastermind I was in immediately after the pandemic, or during the pandemic, I made back an investment of over £10,000 in 5.5 months. Frankly, because I took out a bank loan, not advising that you do that, but I took out a bank loan and I knew I need to get this money back quick. I don't want the interest. I don't want this loan. And I worked my balls off to pay that back quickly, yeah? So you must, I believe you must be paying for a mentor. And it must be an amount of money that scares you, because then you'll feel really committed, like I've got to earn this back. Your coach, you must be paying for a coach. None of this co-coaching. It just does not work. They will not hold you to a higher standard if they're your friend. And your peer group have to be at a higher level than you. and you want to pay to be in that community, because if it's a good community, you probably won't be able to get into a mastermind group where there are people that are already making 7 and 8 figures for free, because why would they want to have you in there? Because what value can you add, right? So it's really important that you recognize that paying to be in a form of mastermind, in a form of mentorship, in a form of coaching program is really going to elevate your game, because then you've got skin in the game, because then you've invested money that you're obviously going to want to make back quickly. And last thing I will say is, if you have any questions about mentorship and coaching and mastermind, we have what we call our Master Coach Academy, which is an all-in-one. You get me as your mentor, you get me as your coach, and you're in a peer group of coaches who are already getting paying clients. So if you want to know more about that, feel free to drop me a message. So that's it. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. Feel free to leave a sort of a comment what your key takeaway is, but ultimately make sure you apply this. Do not leave the site of this video without making the next step on getting yourself a mentor, a coach, and a mastermind.